Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. The air in the room feels thick, almost suffocating. Bradley Cooper stands alone in the center of the stage, the microphone clasped tightly in his hand. The darkness surrounds him, making the small pool of light from the overhead spotlight feel like an island. The room is completely silent, an oppressive stillness that presses down on him from all sides. His heart races in his chest, but the exterior is calm, the kind of calm that only comes from years of experience in the spotlight. He swallows hard, the sound of his throat dry in the quiet space. His fingers tighten around the mic, a faint tremor betraying the stillness of his body. His eyes scan the audience, but he doesn't really see them. Not really. Not in the way they expect him to. What he's looking for, what he's waiting for, remains elusive, floating just out of reach. Their faces are blurred in the darkness, but he knows they're there, watching, waiting, expecting. The years of performing, of perfecting the jokes, the routines, all of it feels so distant now. He's tired. Not just in his body, but deep within. He feels exposed in a way he never has before, the familiar comfort of the microphone no longer offering the shield it once did. His breath hitches slightly as he shifts on his feet. He wants to say something, anything, to break the silence, but nothing comes. It feels wrong, almost too much. For a moment, he lets his gaze drop to the floor, his mind spinning with doubt. This moment. It feels too real, too raw. But then, he takes a breath, deep, deliberate, and lifts his head. His eyes are no longer searching for the audience. They've become something more focused, as though he's looking past them, through them, to something he's only just begun to understand. Do you ever wonder? He begins, his voice a little softer than usual, almost a whisper against the stillness. If this is all just a way to hide? He pauses, letting the words hang in the air. I mean, how much of what we do up here is really for you or for me? He steps forward slightly, his feet shifting with quiet resolve, as if the movement could ground him. I've spent years up here, cracking jokes, making you laugh, making myself laugh, pretending everything is fine. A faint laugh escapes his lips, but it's hollow. But I guess the truth is, there's no real joke, is there? He looks up again, meeting their eyes now, a quiet vulnerability in his gaze. The light flickers slightly overhead, casting shadows across his face. But there's something different in his expression, something beyond the routine. The truth is, I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. He lets out a long, slow breath, the words heavier now, harder to swallow. I've spent so much of my life hiding behind this mic, behind these jokes. But the thing is, I don't think I'm hiding from you anymore. His voice drops, quieter now, almost lost in the weight of what he's saying. I'm hiding from me. The room feels colder, the silence sharper. Bradley stands there, frozen for a moment, as though caught in the very truth he's just spoken. His heart pounds in his chest, but he can't move. Not yet. The moment feels too big. Finally, he exhales, forcing a weak smile to his lips, one that doesn't reach his eyes. He looks out at the audience, a mixture of resignation and acceptance in his expression. Well, he says, his voice now steadying, though still holding the fragility of what's just been shared. Guess that's the joke for tonight. And, with that, he slowly lowers the mic, steps back from the center of the stage, and exits into the darkness, the silence swallowing him whole as the spotlight flickers out. The city is wrapped in silence. The glow of distant streetlights casts long shadows along the empty pavement. Bradley walks alone down the street, his footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The air is crisp, cool, almost biting, carrying with it the scent of freshly fallen rain. His jacket, dark and unremarkable, flaps slightly in the wind as he walks with a deliberate pace. Each step carrying the weight of the long day that's finally come to an end. As he walks, the sounds of the city seem to fade into the background. The honking of distant traffic, the hum of neon lights, the occasional murmur of a passerby, all of it disappears, leaving only the rhythm of his footsteps. The only sound is the gentle rustle of his jacket, the soft tap of his shoes against the concrete, and the occasional flicker of a streetlight overhead. Bradley's hands are buried deep in his pockets, his shoulders slightly hunched as if he's carrying something heavier than just the weight of his body. His eyes remain fixed ahead, not really focusing on anything in particular, just staring into the distance. It's as though he's walking through a dream, disconnected from the world. Around him, his mind is elsewhere, lost in thoughts, memories, reflections of moments that never seem to leave. With every step, a thought lingers in the back of his mind, a question that won't quite leave him alone. Am I still who I was? He slows, his pace as he approaches a crosswalk, standing there for a moment, staring at the empty road. The world feels so much quieter now, as if the night has swallowed everything, every sound, every possibility. His reflection dances in a puddle on the ground as he stands still, gazing down at it, his own face blurry, distorted by the ripples in the water. It's an image of him, but not really him. It feels almost like a stranger. He studies it for a moment longer before looking away. The reflection, like his life, feels out of focus. He doesn't know who he is anymore. The years have been long. The performances, the roles, the endless chase for the next thing. It all blurs together. And yet, here he is, standing in the middle of this street, at this crossroads in his life. The noise, the fame, the adoration. It all seems so distant now. A life lived in front of cameras, but never truly living for himself. It's like he's been playing a role for so long that he's forgotten what it feels like to just be. He shakes his head slightly, as if trying to shake off the thoughts that cloud his mind. Focus, he tells himself. Move forward. But the city around him feels empty now, almost alien. It's as though the world has turned upside down, and he's left standing in the middle of it, unsure of where to go. He takes a deep breath, the cool air filling his lungs, trying to ground himself, trying to remind himself of who he is, who he used to be. He walks on, his steps becoming more deliberate, purposeful. As he moves past the dimly lit storefronts, his eyes flicker toward the window of a small diner. Inside, a couple sits in a corner booth, their laughter rising above the clinking of cups and silverware. For a moment, Bradley wonders what it would be like to just sit there, to live a life where the questions about identity, about purpose, didn't follow him everywhere he went. But then, as quickly as the thought comes, it fades, and he continues walking. At the next intersection, he pauses again, waiting for the light to change. He leans against the metal post, his back against it, his eyes now focused on the ground. His fingers tap rhythmically against his coat pocket, the motion automatic. The night feels endless, and so does the time he spent searching for something, anything, that would make sense of it all. Was the fame worth it? What did it all mean? Questions, 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 and no answers. The silence, the darkness, they seem to amplify his thoughts, his doubts. He looks up again, gazing at the horizon. A distant set of headlights appears, slowly approaching in the distance. The light grows, then shrinks as the car passes by, leaving behind only a streak of light on the wet pavement. For a moment, he feels like the car is him, moving so fast, racing forward, but never really going anywhere. The light changes, and Bradley begins to cross the street. His walk is slower now, each step purposeful, but there's an air of hesitancy in the way he moves. The quiet is suffocating, almost oppressive. The city, with all its noise, feels lonelier than ever. He wonders if anyone else feels the same. If anyone else is lost like him, wondering if there's more to life than the performances, the faces, the roles. He reaches the corner and stops, glancing over at a neon sign in the distance. It's barely visible, but he knows it's there. An old bar. A place he used to visit, back before everything got complicated. Before he became the name everyone knew, the face on the screen. He stands there for a moment, just looking at it. For a second, the idea of walking in, of disappearing into the crowd, feels appealing. But then, he turns away, walking off into the night again, leaving the past behind. The set is quiet now, the hustle and bustle of filming having slowed to a stop. Lights are dimmed, and the crew begins packing up their equipment. Cables are coiled, cameras are rolled away, and the last few crew members sweep the floor, preparing to leave for the day. But in the center of the room, Bradley stands, alone. He's dressed in costume, but there's no longer any urgency in his movements. The adrenaline of the shoot has faded, replaced by a stillness, an exhaustion that goes deeper than the physical. His face is flushed, his body tired, but his mind seems restless, his thoughts running in every direction. He stares at the empty space around him, the once bustling set now abandoned, the artificial lights dimmed, leaving shadows in their wake. He walks to the center of the set, where a chair, once a part of the scene, sits discarded. He picks it up absent-mindedly and places it back into its designated spot. The floor is littered with empty cups, discarded scripts, and the remnants of hours spent creating something that, for now, feels meaningless. The last scene is done. The last take has been filmed. Bradley's eyes linger on a corner of the set, where props are stacked in disarray. There are small remnants of the characters they were all playing. A jacket thrown carelessly over a chair, a prop phone left on a table. These little details should feel like the end of a chapter. But instead, they make the emptiness of the moment feel even sharper. His fingers run through his hair, a nervous habit that betrays the tiredness in his posture. He exhales slowly, eyes flicking over the set one last time. The noise, the excitement, the sense of purpose, it's all gone. There's only silence now, stretching out before him, almost suffocating in its weight. A few crew members pass by, exchanging small pleasantries, their voices too loud in the quiet of the room. Bradley doesn't respond. He simply stands there, watching them, as if he's waiting for something. Or maybe he's waiting for himself. He's unsure. His thoughts feel disjointed, floating in the air like dust particles in the dim light. Moves toward the director's chair, now empty. He runs his fingers along the backrest, the leather cool to the touch. He sits down for a moment, taking a deep breath as though trying to collect his thoughts. But it feels like too much. Too many emotions are swirling inside him, and he can't seem to focus on any one thing. He doesn't want to think about what's next. Doesn't want to think about the future. All he wants is a moment of peace. But that seems impossible to find in the chaos of his mind. His gaze drifts to a small stack of scripts on the nearby table. He reaches out and picks one up, flipping through the pages, absently. His fingers stop on a line from a scene they just finished filming. He reads it, but it doesn't make sense anymore. The words blur together as he tries to make sense of what they've done, what he's done, the role he's played. He was someone else for so long, someone different. But now, as the reality of the end of the shoot sets in, he wonders who he is without it. The crew begins to trickle out of the set. Some head to the makeup room to remove their costumes. Others grab their things and leave. No one notices Bradley's stillness. They're all moving forward, rushing toward the next project, the next day, the next thing. But he feels like he's stuck in time, suspended in this moment where nothing seems to matter except the hollow echo of the final shot. A soft voice breaks his reverie. Florence Pugh, still in costume, walks into the room with a slight smile on her face. She looks around at the empty set, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. "Well, that's it," she says, her voice light. "Can't believe it's over." Bradley doesn't answer right away. He simply nods, his eyes distant. Florence notices his silence and takes a step closer, her expression softening. "You okay?" she asks, her voice gentle. Bradley looks at her, his lips forming a half smile. "Yeah, I'm fine," he says, but it's clear that he's not. "It's just, I don't know. Feels strange, you know? The end of something like this. So much work, so much emotion, and now it's gone." Florence pauses for a moment, studying him. "I get it," she says, her voice carrying a quiet understanding. "It's like you're never really prepared for the end. You just have to let go." Bradley exhales sharply, almost a laugh, but it's empty. He stands up, rubbing his hand across his face. "I guess that's the hardest part. Letting go. But maybe that's what we're all doing, right? Letting go of who we were, moving into something new. I don't even know what's next." "You don't have to," Florence replies, her voice reassuring. "You've done the work. Now it's time to breathe, to just be." Bradley nods, though it's clear he's still lost in his thoughts. He glances around the set once more. The echoes of the day, the long hours, the laughter, the frustrations, all of it fading into the past now. "Yeah," he says softly. "Maybe you're right." He takes a deep breath and turns toward the door, Florence following him. As they exit the set, the door swings shut behind them, and the room is left in silence, save for the quiet hum of the air conditioning, the soft rustling of paper, and the fading memory of a story now complete. The apartment is dimly lit, with only a few lamps scattered around the room. The atmosphere feels cozy, but there's an underlying sense of emptiness. A soft hum of city noise seeps through the windows, but it feels distant, as though the world outside is both close and far away. Bradley enters the apartment quietly, the door clicking shut behind him. His footsteps are soft, almost cautious, as if he's trying not to disturb the silence. He moves to the kitchen, his movements slow and deliberate. The kitchen is small, cluttered with unopened mail, a half-finished cup of coffee from earlier in the day, and a few scattered dishes. It's clear he hasn't been here much lately. There's a sense of neglect, but not in a way that's harsh, more like a space that's simply been left behind in the rush of life. Bradley stands by the counter, looking at the coffee mug in front of him. His fingers hover over it for a moment before he picks it up and takes a sip. It's cold, but he doesn't seem to mind. The taste doesn't register, as though the action itself is a mechanical response rather than one of enjoyment. His eyes flick to the window, gazing out at the city lights twinkling in the distance. The reflection of the lights on the glass mirrors his own image. Tired, worn and weathered, he leans against the counter, the weight of the day settling in. The exhaustion is not just physical, it's emotional, a deep-rooted tiredness that seems to seep into his bones. His gaze remains fixed on the city outside, but his mind is elsewhere, caught up in the questions that have been haunting him since the end of filming. He sets the mug down and walks over to a bookshelf, running his fingers along the spines of the books that sit there. A few novels, a collection of poetry, some old scripts. His hand stops on a photo frame. It's a picture of him from years ago, younger, more hopeful. He stares at it for a long moment, his face softening. The image seems to pull something out of him, a mixture of nostalgia and regret. It's a reminder of who he used to be, and maybe even who he still wants to be. But that version of him, that man in the picture, feels so far removed from the person he's become. Time has shifted things. People change. But how much? And how much of himself is he still holding on to? He places the photo back on the shelf and runs a hand through his hair, the motion more forceful now. The tension in his shoulders is palpable, as though he's carrying a weight he can't shake. He moves to the couch and sits down heavily, sinking into the cushions. The apartment feels colder now, despite the soft lighting. The space, once full of life, now feels almost suffocating in its stillness. The hum of the refrigerator in the corner is the only sound in the room. He stares at the floor for a while, lost in thought. There's a moment of silence, but then a knock at the door breaks it. He doesn't move immediately, almost as if he's not sure he wants to answer. But the knock comes again, louder this time, followed by the sound of someone shifting on the other side. Reluctantly, Bradley stands up and walks to the door. He opens it slowly. Standing in the hallway is Florence Pugh, her presence unexpected but welcome. She's holding a small brown paper bag in her hands, a casual, almost comforting gesture. "Didn't think I'd get an answer," Florence says with a playful grin, though her eyes are soft with concern. "I figured you could use a little company." Bradley's lips curl into a small, tired smile. "Yeah, I guess I could." He steps aside to let her in, and she enters the apartment, her gaze immediately scanning the room. The warmth of her presence contrasts with the coolness of the apartment, and for a brief moment, the heaviness Bradley's been carrying seems to lift. Florence places the bag on the counter and turns to face him, her expression one of gentle understanding. "Thought you might need something to eat," she says, her voice light but serious. "You've been running yourself ragged lately. You deserve a break." Bradley doesn't answer right away. Instead, he simply nods, his eyes briefly meeting hers before looking away. He feels exposed somehow, vulnerable, like she can see right through him. Florence doesn't push him though. She takes a seat on the couch across from him, a comfortable distance away, giving him space. She watches him quietly, her gaze warm and non-judgmental. For a moment, there's only the quiet sound of the city in the background, a soft reminder that life is still moving on outside these walls. Bradley lets out a breath, the tension in his body loosening just a little bit. "Thanks," he says after a long pause, his voice quieter than before. "I didn't even realize how much I needed this." Florence smiles. "I figured as much." She leans forward, grabbing the brown bag and pulling out a takeout container. "You're not alone in this, you know. We all get wrapped up in our heads, thinking we have to do it all ourselves, but we don't." Bradley looks at her, and for the first time in a while, something softens in his expression. There's a flicker of recognition, of understanding. He knows she's right. He knows he doesn't have to carry the burden alone. But it's hard, sometimes, to let go of the walls you've built around yourself. He reaches for the container she's offering and opens it. The scent of warm food fills the room, a simple comfort. He takes a bite, savoring it more than he expected to. For a moment, there's no pressure, no looming thoughts of the past or the future, just the warmth of the meal, the companionship in the room, and the slow, steady rhythm of life moving forward. Florence leans back, her eyes soft as she watches him. "It's all about balance, you know. You've got to find a way to let go of the things that weigh you down and make room for what really matters." Bradley nods, chewing thoughtfully. He looks at her, a slight smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "Yeah, maybe you're right. The silence that follows is comfortable, even peaceful." Bradley takes another bite, the tension in his body melting just a little more with each passing second. For the first time in a long while, he feels like he can breathe again.